I'll call him.
Whenever you're ready.
Call meeting to order, study session. We'll have public comment.
My name is Robert Vogt, I'm an Edgar County resident, and I want to talk about the Edgar County Airport, the grant that was submitted on February 13, 2012. What I had to say this morning is kind of an overview of where we're at or where things are at. I think Mr. Wells in his application declared the airport had a hardship because there was only a 1,000-gallon Jet A fuel tank at the Edgar County Airport. And the people that I'm discussing this with have already provided them with 3 years worth of airport fuel purchases before the grant was submitted and a year afterwards. And in that information we provided them, we could clearly show that more than 1,000 gallons of Jet A fuel was routinely delivered at the Edgar County Airport. That statement would be false. We also provided fuel delivery receipts for the year after the grant application was submitted. And there again, in that 12 months, showed that the airport was purchasing Jet A fuel in quantities in excess of 1,000 gallons. And there again, that shows that the statements on the grant application were false. And we provided fuel delivery receipts for 1 year before and 1 year after the grant application was submitted to show the airport manager, Jimmy Wells, signed for Jet A fuel deliveries far in excess of 1,000 gallons we talked about. Okay, there's fuel purchases, fuel delivery tickets. There's an FAA Master Inventory Report for 2010. In that report, there's a notation showing there's a 10,000-gallon Jet A fuel tank in use at the Edgar County Airport. Another document proving that what's on the Edgar County Airport grant application is fraud or full of lies or there's no truth in it. Then there's the FAA Master Inventory Report for 2012. Here again, it states there was a 10,000-gallon Jet A fuel tank in use at the Edgar County Airport. Another document showing there's been a lie. There's also a sheriff's report responding to a complaint of fuel theft at this airport because of discrepancy in documents. Mr. Wells says there's only a 1,000-gallon Jet A fuel tank. The rest of the world says he's not telling the truth. The sheriff's department went out there and found, yes, in fact, there was a 1,000-gallon Jet A fuel tank in use. Then there's witnesses and employees of my son's business that would testify and confirm the aircraft requiring Jet A fuel were fueled from a 10,000-gallon Jet A fuel tank. That's one item. Second item is, Jimmy Wells alleged there were 35 airplanes at the Edgar County Airport on February 13, 2012. And he also said they're eligible for use in justifying grant applications. Well, we go back to the FAA Master Inventory Reports of 2010 where they show there's only 15 aircraft at the Edgar County Airport. And it doesn't make the distinction whether they're grant eligible or not for consideration. It just says there's 15 there. That is, again, in conflict with the grant application that Jimmy filled out. Then there's another FAA Master Inventory Report that occurred in late 2012 that said there's 27, not 35 as alleged. And again, it doesn't make the distinction between, is this a grant eligible airplane, one that flies, one that lives in Edgar County, or is it something else? I FOIA'd the Edgar County for tail numbers on these aircraft, and there's no documents. We applied for a federal grant, we have no documents. But the county was kind enough to respond with a listing of 31 aircraft they received off the internet. And this was nearly 2 years after the grant was submitted. We took those 35 airplane tail numbers and compared them with the information we had. We came up with there's only 16 aircraft that could possibly have been eligible or counted or in attendance or even in existence at the Edgar County Airport. Now, the reason I went over this, we also have, incidentally, FOIA'd and received the airplane lease agreements for that time frame. You don't have 35 lease agreements on airplanes. You don't have 25. You even have 20. What I want to say here again is that all this stuff that has been lied and everybody on this board knows these are not true. And some people have even said, well, what does it matter? What does it matter?
You have 1 minute.
Doesn't matter to FAA. Probably doesn't. but I think it does. But what has happened here is the board has endorsed an Edgar County employee that has been telling lies and they know their lies and they haven't fixed it. There are very few remedies. I asked this court, you folks here, to write down this number if you would. It's 31 U.S. Code 3729. That's a false claims statute in federal government. And that's the statute you're probably going to hear more about in the future if you don't stop this project. Talks about liability for certain acts, subject to paragraph 2. The person who knowingly presents or causes to be presented a false or fraudulent claim for payment or approval, knowingly makes uses or causes to be made or used false records or statements material to a false or fraudulent claim. I'm going to skip ahead because I'm running out of time.
Run out of time.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. In your packet.
Alan, you got the phone number?
What is this one here? That's what I was going to do. I've got the number for Travis, I don't have a number for him to call here.
I'm sorry, I thought we were gonna call him.
What is this?
465-4139.
465. What do you want to do this now or not? 35?
39, 465-4139.
No, this is for insurance.
Yes, I'm trying to find it. I thought I had a paper in here about it.
I didn't see one. There is one.
Yeah. I thought I had one from the timeline. I'm thinking I was incorrect.
Did it get in there?
I have it here some, I think they're coming up on that. Regular calling.
Do I?
It's not in the packet. Okay. You got about stopping probably.
It'll look like this top. Is that not?
No, that's not in it.
Apologize, I'll go make coffee.
Here it is, I've got mine.
But, you know, you got yours.
Yeah, but it came,
Here's an email.
right.
I emailed it with your, something.
Okay.
I'll go make coffee. Carl, you want anything from you?
I'm getting it
Are you
right.
messing
Back
with
up.
anything from him?
There it is.
You got yours
Hope
now.
that is a fail.
Pretty spiky too.
Spider, a little spider.
This is his proposal, okay?
Yeah. Recommended to too.
It's for us.
Yeah, it's at Travis, whatever.
Ready? Yeah,
Push that to shut them off.
okay. Travis, it's Alan Zuber, you out there?
Yes, I am here. How are you doing?
Okay. You're in the presence of the Edgar County Board during a study session, several members of the community. And what we want to talk a little bit was about our group health insurance bid opening. I think it took place last week. And your thoughts and ideas on what we need to do as far as for the good or the betterment of the taxpayers of the county.
Okay. All right. Well, as I communicated with Augie, the renewal quote from Blue Cross Blue Shield was not presented as part of the bid proposal. So that really leaves the county with only a couple of options, since it was a public bid. The best of those options, in my opinion, is for the county to reject all of the bids and to rebid the insurance. And as I mentioned to Augie, we did get some proposals. We did not get all the proposals that we were expecting to get. Coventry was one that we thought we were going to get a proposal from, and they did not present a proposal. And then we did not get a proposal from Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is the current carrier. So since it is a public bid, we are kind of bound to what the bidding laws state, which that would not permit you to allow that bid in. So the best option for the county, in the whole scenario, is basically to reject the bid, which would take formal board approval, and then authorize the rebid, which we have sent the tentative timeline to Augie last week for that process to happen. And I don't know if that's in front of you at all or not, but we still have some time. But basically, the public bid notification after the board would reject bids and then authorize the rebid, that would go out this week, August 11th. And then, we would tentatively have all the specifications sent back to the agents the week of August 14th, or the following week. And the goal being that we would still have September as the open enrollment date, and then for a October 1st renewal date. And I don't know, do you have the time schedule
Yeah.
in front of you, or?
Yes, we all have it in front of us. So
Okay.
we've got the recommended time schedule there in front of all of us.
Okay, so, what we have on there is a tentative bid opening for August 26th at 2 o'clock at your county. And then the county board meeting, we put the meeting date to be determined, because I think we're a little bit after what your normal meeting would be. But based on your meeting schedule, we didn't think there was any way, without having a special board meeting, unless we went into August, where the board would have to approve it at a later date, if that kind of makes sense for everybody.
I think that's what
Yes.
Ben and I talked about, a possibility of a special board meeting to approve it. That's what we decided to do. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I guess one of the questions that some of us had was like, we went with our other time schedule ahead of time and still heard minimal reports of like, well, they didn't have time to complete this. I know you talked to me on the phone anyway, that you felt like our county and our county employees did a good job and got that information to the carriers in plenty of time. I just want, if that's still the case, please I want everybody to know that, because it was kind of disappointing.
Billy Ann worked with our office very diligently, and obviously, with as many employees as you have and the underwriting process, she was very quick, and I know Audra has she made several contacts to employees at home, trying to get information from them. But, kind of what we looked at is when we started getting questions about the applications, the underwriters had those in their hands. And, like I said, Coventry had questions for us leading up to, the day of the bid opening, and we thought we were getting a proposal from them, and then they never submitted one. We were as surprised as anybody, when we didn't get any proposal from Blue Cross Blue Shield. But I guess I'm not sure the exact reasons behind, that or the whole process there. But, as I mentioned to you, Alan, normally if we don't get the renewal, we've had agents that have called us in the past and said, hey, we don't have the renewal, can we extend the bid opening deadline? And we've been able to do that, but we just didn't get any kind of notification on that, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. According to our finance committee chairman, if the bids come in at the price that they came in, we won't be able to accept any of them because we can't afford it. So we need well, what would we do then? Or should we be doing that now as far as getting another proposal?
Well, as I mentioned to Alan and Augie, the Health Alliance proposal, which was one of them that we had received, that was quite a bit higher than the expiring, and I'm not sure exactly why that came in so high. And even the United Healthcare proposal came in really high. I think if the board rejects the bids and authorizes a rebid, we would have some time to go back to the carrier. And obviously, I think that if you recall me telling the board when I met with you last, the health insurance rates are based on what exposures you have there, but, I don't know if you've just got some, great health risks that they had concern about, or, they just weren't that interested in the account. I'm just trying to figure out what their justification was, because, as you're saying there, and I agree with, the pricing was not very attractive.
Can I add something here? The renewal did come forward from, obviously we can't accept it. That would have been a lot closer, and my understanding, without getting the specifics, if we do rebid it, they're going to have a extremely more attractive proposal than even the renewal.
Okay.
So what you're, if I understand what you're suggesting, this is Alan again, is that we do rebid these because of the reasons that you feel like all the bid that was presented was inordinately high, and that's not really good for either our employees or the taxpayers in general of Edgar County?
That is correct, yeah.
Going on with what Ben said, I guess I have a question. Maybe we can get into this later anyway. Right now, I think we currently have 4 different types of health insurance that our employees can choose from. With Affordable Care Act in operation, if these continue to rise, I know we have to offer something that is good or okay, so to speak, according to the government. Is it going to come to a point where you feel like we may not be able to offer all 4, or we're still in the point of like, here's so much money, and the minimum amount of money that we can offer is whatever's going to take care of one of our health savings accounts?
Well, yeah, your affordable calculation underneath the Affordable Care Act, that is actually based on your lowest base plan that meets minimum essential coverage. So essentially, that can be a high deductible health plan or a health savings account, as long as it meets 60% of the actuarial value, of the plan. In your HSA plan, we currently meet those requirements. So basically, when you look at the calculations, you're basing it off of your HSA plan premium is what you'd be basing it off of, just the single coverage.
Okay, another thing is, last year, I think we got a little bit surprised by the add-on on affordable care of I think it was 3.25%. Is that something that you think is going to be in effect for this year also, or was that last year, or do we get 3.5% this year plus more?
Well, it is built into the rate, so that's already reflected in your rate. Now, the one thing I do want to have everybody keep in mind is that is a tiered rate. So that the way that's structured, some of those fees are structured to go up every year. So if the Corey fee, as an example, was $1 per participant per year, or per month per year, that goes up, to $2 per month per year, as the coming years go. And TRP is the same way, which is a transitional reinsurance program. that fee is structured to go up. So you'll see some increases, but you're not going to see the size of increase that you saw this year, you know, as far as the total percentage goes. It'll be a smaller percentage, but you will see more.
But will that be included in the bid and not as an additional amount?
It should, that when they're factoring those, most of the bids that we've been getting have factored those in for the coming year, but we would have to verify that with the carriers to make sure.
Alan, is it possible, and Travis, to put in there, to offer a plan that meets Obamacare that would more closely, if, in other words, to give us a bigger smorgasbord, maybe to offer a plan that we may not have currently that would more closely reflect what we're currently paid? In other words, give them an option to say, okay, these plans that you currently have are gonna be another $3,000 per month, just say hypothetically. But then they offer us a fifth plan that we currently don't offer that would give us an opportunity to get as close as we could to what we're currently paying while still meeting the law.
Yes, I understand what you're saying there. And my response to that is, I think based on your size of employment group that you have, the more plans you offer, the more cumbersome that becomes from a bookkeeping standpoint.
Okay.
So, I would say, yes, you could do that, but let's take a look at dropping one of the other plans that we may not have very much participation on.
What, would we have that option if we bid it like we're gonna bid it then? In other words, can we, once we've accepted a bid, can we negotiate that and still be within the law?
Yeah, we can spell out different plan options,
Okay.
As far as the proposals. As long as we do that here on this rebid, we would be covered, and be within the legal means.
Okay. Thank you, Travis.
Anybody?
The reason why we don't get more bids than what we got?
Dan wants to know, is there a reason why we didn't get more bids than what we got?
Well, the best response that I have is with the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, there are a certain limited number of carriers now. So I can tell you prior to the Affordable Care Act, there were a lot more insurance carriers that were in the marketplace. Since the implementation of the Act, the number of insurance carriers has actually dropped dramatically. So Health Alliance, which is a major player in the market, you got a quote from United Healthcare, which is a major player. You got a quote from Coventry. As I said, I thought we were getting a quote from them. We were communicating with one of the bidding agents and really thought we were going to get something from them. And then Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I guess my best response is they're really, for your location and your marketplace, there's really only about 4 to 5 to 6 maybe major carriers that are willing to write the business.
Anybody else? Travis, thanks a lot. Appreciate the information, and as always, if there's stuff we need to be doing, please let us know.
Yep, we will do that, and apologize for not being able to get there, but glad we could at least connect up on a teleconference. So,
Well, I appreciate the 10% deduction on the discount too. There. No, just kidding. You take care, Travis. See ya.
all right, have a good day.
Bye. Just leave that there. Are we off here?
Yeah.
Okay, conference, listen, mute. I have no idea. I don't want to really talk to Dirk.
There, it's off now.
Is it off now?
Just hanging it. You just hung up.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Travis and I looked over the timeline, and the August the 25th date is our next study session. So if we need to schedule a special board meeting, that was the thought there.
But he's going to open those proposals on the 26th.
That's right, he did say that, didn't he?
Yeah, that's
I'm
what-
sorry.
Can you get clarification between now and then so we get a timeline set up that we can?
You know,
approve?
Yes. Okay, that's right. He did say the 26th.
Anything else on the health insurance?
I don't think so.
The next item is bids for phone system.
Okay.
Yes, that's me.
That's what I assume everybody's here for.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Plug, you wanna help us here?
I've just got basically 2 copies of each, so,
Okay.
um,
I think what the plan is to open them, let everybody know what's going on, and then study them for a couple of days if we have any questions. And then they're on the agenda for Wednesday.
Yeah.
If we can reach a decision, it's on the agenda for Wednesday to approve one of the contracts, or one of the bids, excuse me. If that's, so
all right.
everybody's aware of what's going on.
It's all right if Ross does that and I
That's fine.
take the
I just
note.
wanna make sure we had a mechanism.
Okay.
You're gonna be able to list the company and then the bid and any alternates, I assume.
yeah.
Okay.
Some of I had to, you guys sent me some via email, so I had to print them out and put them in envelopes, but I'll just open each of those. And then the Gibson was supposed to get the other one from New Wave, right? That's your cost. So, okay. Just wanted to make sure because I opened it up and put it in there, and I thought, well, I didn't know if it was a separate thing or not. Okay. So, you gonna start in alphabetical order, or is there any specific? Okay.
You didn't open that.
Because I've got 2 of those, and rather than have a lot of extra loose paper floating around. Gotcha. We had a total of 4 responses. From working with all of the vendors, everybody did a great job kind of reviewing what we have and what we could do, and future growth. That was kind of one of the big things that I was looking for, was making sure that we have flexibility moving forward. Frontier, we'll just start with them because they're here on the top here. The responses, I don't know how much detail you want to go through on the responses because it's a really long document.
We want, I think.
Just baseline costs is
Yes.
what we're looking at.
Yes.
Frontier's costs involved, if we went, make sure I got this right here. We had 2 different responses from Frontier? Okay.
Yeah.
The first response, cost-wise, worked out to be just a little over $50,313.95. The other option was with the upgraded system with the power of Ethernet and everything else, and that was just $51,479.84. We're focusing on the first one simply because we're looking for an apples to apples on our existing system, but they gave me the second one just as a point of if we intended to upgrade, then that would be the difference.
You're gonna check these and see if they are the same by
Yes.
reading through that.
Yes.
And meet specifications.
Yeah.
What is the month, do they give a monthly fee? Because that's what we're actually bidding.
Right, that's right. Basically, payment plans, financing, that kind of thing. I'm not sure where that lands on here. Is that
It'll
the
be in the
yearly
bond.
basic maintenance
Yeah,
finance?
there'll be a monthly lease, there's both, for both of them. Probably is on the very end of the document. And it's all inclusive, system, maintenance, software licensing, everything, so it's
Would that be the,
monthly.
I've got a yearly Frontier basic maintenance, material summary. Yeah. For the back.
That's for the back, yeah.
Okay.
That would be these.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
this is for the digital. And then the second one, there should be another one there for the, should be two of them. This is Voice of RIP, so there should be another one in front of that. Get it for you. Yeah, there should be one for each. They're pretty
Yeah,
close.
they're fairly similar on that, okay. So for the first one, the monthly contract, or the contract would be 60 months, so that's 5 years.
Yes.
Breaks down to 1,390.
There's two options there. One is a Frontier Shield,
Yeah,
which means that
and then there's the
sometime-
$1 out capital
Right.
lease.
Frontier Shield just means that anytime in the first 5 years, if you decide, hey, we want new
If there's
equipment or
something
we
newer
want
comes
that,
along, we'd be
you
able to pick it
basically
up.
can shut off the lease, put new equipment in, and
Okay.
continue forward. So that's the only difference.
Okay, all right, so that's the Frontier angle. Sorry, I didn't run back. Okay. Next, we'll hit Midwest Communications. They were the ones that initially came in and gave us the overall review that kind of fired off this whole process. Again, the actual response is pretty long, but baseline costs. Monthly payment, 5-year, $1 buyout lease purchase. Is it $232.99? That's not right.
Help you.
Look over these. Did somebody number 4 in here? Does that work out for you?
And that's just for one system?
Okay. Yeah, I've got
There's
two.
your breakouts.
Okay. The overall cost is $47,936, and then what's the monthly leasing on that? Do we have a leasing agreement or financing?
It's on, you probably have to get it from the individual basis, I probably forgot to do it.
Okay.
Figure it out.
Let's see, a kind of a
You're gonna have to-
summary lease. Subtotal. That's.
That's just for one seat, if they add up all three of those.
Real quick. The difference on this one is it was broken down, with one quote for each department that was in the RFP. That was the-
As long as they're
that's the
there.
mix. Yeah, they're all here.
All right.
All right, let's count there, let's do that by hand.
Sure.
Well.
And we'll double
we have
check
to have
that to
some
make sure
insurance.
it's
We'll have to make sure.
So you're saying that's basically the total of the-
Those three together.
Yeah.
949.48 I got.
But we'll double check that.
Thank you.
So 949.48 for Midwest Communications.
Okay?
How much, I'm sorry?
949.48.
And then you'll also reflect these in what we're currently paying and then give us a breakdown of what
Yeah,
we're saving.
yeah.
Right.
All right, so Rico's. Total project price on their response was $88,200. Did you guys include
We do not have meaningful,
financing, leasing, anything like that?
and we're trying to get that as we speak.
Okay. So we'll get that, but that's the total on there, overall. And that's, yeah, you guys didn't bid two different ones, you just bid one. Cool, that keeps it simple. All right, so I'll relay that to you guys, for their financing.
It's gonna be around $2,019.
$2,019.
$2,019 a month. Okay. many we've got. Gibson, they had a New Wave break down the bills and everything as what we've got, and then what the proposed replacement of blinds and things like that are. That would be, it did not include hardware, right? So you guys have a hardware quote, and this would be
and we're
the.
recommending that as a change to save you more
All
money.
right. So did you include these numbers in your files?
No.
Okay. I did not flip through this way to find the.
Should be direct toward the back.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right, yeah, that's not the right page.
Yeah. That's the numbers.
Yeah, that's
Ah, gotcha. Total project price on the Gibson proposal is $47,587.21. And what's the,
It's gonna be right around $940 a month. We as well are.
we've got to break, we gotta get that broke down.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So that's the overall pricing, and then the breakdown on the monthlies for the payments and things. Any questions?
Like Jeff said, you'll
Yes, I'll
accumulate
go
all this
through.
stuff and give us a nice little spreadsheet so we can see before, during, after, et cetera, et cetera. Sure.
List the floor, four and the options and the monthlies
Yes.
and all that,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Yep, I'll break those down and then present those Wednesday.
Once
Yeah.
you give me
For
a call, and
consideration.
then we'll
Work
go,
through it. Okay.
and then I'll text or email out what I can to
Okay.
the guys.
And that'll give you guys a chance to finalize your monthly.
Right that way today.
All right, that's all I've got for you.
Thank you for your work. We appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen, for bidding. We appreciate it.
Learned more about phones in the last month.
That's good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You know Angie, though.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Probably know who we are.
Oh, yeah, I know who you are. Call you guys all the time.
Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you.
Committee reports. Alan, you wanna?
Just highlight there, that was with everybody listening in on that. Again, just reviewing the health insurance plan. They felt like those were way too much, and of course, as Jeff and I have been, and everybody else talked, I'm sure if you'd have seen that increase of 40-some%, that was not gonna be a lift. Wasn't it right around 40, something like that? It was not gonna be a livable thing.
$132,000 a year, Carl.
So, those are types.
You guys remember when they,
Right.
not to interrupt you, but remember when they said it'd be cheaper? We asked if it'd be cheaper, we just get the insurance. And they said the fine and the,
Eventually catch up with us.
I wonder if that's the same now.
Well, hopefully it's not going to if we go back and do what they're saying, because even off of the one last year, I wrote down here, not that it was a huge amount, but there was a difference. At one time, Blue Cross came in at $25.77, and the next time, not a great deal, but it came in at $19.58.
And that's
And I
already
think-
happened.
Well, and I'm hoping
I
it's gonna
haven't
happen
had a
from.
chance to tell you that
Well,
yet.
and I thought, but I'm hoping that the other companies are the same way.
Right.
To
Is
say
it-
like, maybe this is just something we need to do, is like, we're gonna offer these bids and they're gonna come in crazy, as opposed to the old way of doing it, everybody bid real selective right at the first. I'm hoping this is not gonna be the new wave of attack from businesses bidding to counties of like, okay, now we're gonna reject all these.
Let's
And
get
so we come
serious.
back, you guys all get serious this time. I mean, I don't know.
Is there any common sense here? Maybe this is illegal. I'm not suggesting, I just wanna know if this would work. Let's say we don't buy the employees insurance, but we give them X amount of dollars a month to buy Obamacare with. Is that permissible?
I'm not sure what you mean by that, whether or not
Well,
we're
they
giving
can go
people
get it.
$3,000 or $5,000. You can give people, my understanding is Jeff's not here, and those people listening, Travis explained all that to us last year, you know, at those meetings and stuff, and I'll be honest, I cannot remember exactly all those things that he said.
Right.
When we were all together, he explained all that stuff, how much it is per dollar, per person, and I thought that's probably where you're leading to. I don't think we're near that point yet, otherwise, he's gonna let us know that.
Oh, I'm hoping.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think
I would
we're
hope you would.
even
but
close to that yet.
We're getting to the point where this is gonna get expensive.
Well, and I think that's one of the things from insurance standpoint that we looked at last year, saying, we are at a point like most governmental agencies and most companies is saying, here's how much money we have. There's only so much of this pie. You could take this money and use it for whatever you want to. You know, I think the days
You
are,
can take this money and buy insurance.
well, what I'm saying is you can do almost whatever you want to. Yeah, it's geared toward insurance. What I'm saying is that here's a part of the total package. And I think that may become a personal opinion. That may be coming down the line, not just for us. I know it's coming down a lot of other services, because no longer is obviously health insurance a throw-in to a job. It's just becoming so cost prohibitive.
Because the way I understand it, you work for a corporation or a company, and they say, boys and girls, you're on your own. We're not supplying health insurance anymore. We cannot afford it. Then we have the option to go to the Obamacare site, and we can get it a lot cheaper.
And I'm not sure how much those companies still may have to kick in
That's what I'm asking.
on the money. But that's what I'm saying, this is what we hopefully have them for, so next time we have them travel, let's bug him with that question. He told us what it was the last time, I remember, but I don't remember what it is now. So that's one issue. Coming up probably, I think we have a December 1 renewal on our property casualty. That's coming up, and I think they've already sent out the timetable and calendar, you guys.
All we have to supply is a policy that meets Obamacare, and it can be a policy with a $5,000 deductible. If that's what we have to do, and then if anybody wants the higher policy, they
pay the
pay the
difference.
difference.
And
And I don't even know that we're at the 5,000 deductible.
No, I
What we
can't
got.
tell you.
But, you know, but that's all we have to do is offer a policy that meets the requirements, and
last year, as it turned out, when we offered our health savings plan, you know, that the employees who took that basically are paying Zippo for that. And so that met the requirement based on what we were anyway. So, I mean, it's a constant learning process. That's why I want to have him talk, so if anybody has questions,
I should have
I don't
asked
know
him.
those
I didn't
answers.
wanna-
I mean, let's bug our guy that we're paying money for. That's why I look at it. We're paying him,
$30,000?
yeah, we're paying him about 9,000 or 10,000 a year, so
I
we
think
made it.
Obamacare
$1,000?
is a moving target also.
Yeah.
To change.
So what, when we did we bid, how many different plans did we bid? 4 different, is that what we bid in the past?
Yes.
Well-
And it's the same level of.
Well, we bid 2 the last time, and then we expanded it to 4.
That's why I thought it was a great question, Jeff, when you asked.
Right,
once we
and
get
this time we can mix, I wanted to know if we could mix and match legally to help our folks.
If, once we get the bid on our base
Right.
prices.
I'm sorry,
if there's-
Carl, I interrupted you.
And if we rebid, we can't rebid a different, lot lower, like you suggested, a lot lower plan cover, you know, as far as coverage.
That-
I
that
think we
was
got a
my
minimum
understanding.
coverage.
I took it, and correct me if I took it that if we get our bid back, we could take our least used plan and maybe offer one that's even lower, okay? That's the way I took it, because that's what I asked.
That's
I
kinda
think-
what I took, that you had some flexibility.
Right.
If the 4 plans that say you bid, if we come up with this general plan, then within that company, you can go back and say, here's our 4 plans. How can we make these so it's better for employees, better for county?
Yeah, and that way they can say, well, no, I wanna pay more, or
Which
no,
is
I
what
don't
I
wanna
felt
pay
like we
more.
did last year.
You gotta record, that's recorded. I didn't get to say that. he said, yes, I agree with you, Jeff, and then he said at the end, as long as we put that in as a bid.
Well, okay.
That's what I agree.
Then we need to double check.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear that part either.
I didn't either. I guess
That's
I was
what I
hearing what I
I'm so
wanted to
excited
hear.
about the great question, because I thought it was a wonderful question. So,
Well, and we do have some changes, and I think you need to tell Bushu before they do this, that there's
I
some
did.
changes.
I did.
Okay. I mean,
I think
and we're
the
gonna
same ones.
lose a couple of people. I mean, you're looking at two of them here, you're gonna lose. So,
I just want to make sure that if it's a
for
new-
example, I'll talk about me, October 1st, I'm not gonna take our insurance anymore.
You're talking about our people, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about our people, which is,
Yeah.
I'm a savings. I mean,
So,
Because you're a bad health risk.
so, anyway, that's kind of it on here.
Because your age, of course.
Yeah, for right now.
well, and we gotta take it all into consideration.
Carl?
Don't have anything?
When I had a note here, and what you'd bring up, we was just gonna discuss eliminating the merit commission.
Oh, yeah. At the last meeting, you know, I just brought it up. That's something we need to think about, and we wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Now, before I do that, I got a question for the board. It's been 2 months since you had a settlement with Hopper and Bergen. And during that settlement, you also said that I was gonna get a letter of resignation as part of that settlement. I spoke to one board member and they said they would look into it. As of today, we've got 60 days since that settlement. I've yet seen a letter of resignation from Mr. Hopper.
According
That
to our
was part
state's
of-
attorney, it is in the settlement papers. It actually says it in the settlement papers.
I'd like to get a copy of something.
I will get that to you, okay?
Thank you. Based on the merit, as I said 4 years ago during our negotiations, you can't serve two masters. And that merit system should have been eliminated when Sheriff Krippus was in office and they went right to the union. They should have dumped it right then, got rid of it. And at this point, I still say the same thing. You can't have both. Because I follow one, they follow one. Right, so, personally-
Clarity,
Huh?
clarity.
Clarity means you get just one rule, that's it. So, to me, you
Well,
just,
another, not to interrupt the sheriff, but another thing too that's come to fact, we now have a sheriff's auxiliary. Two of the members of the merit commission are on the auxiliary. Now, some of you might think that's not a conflict, but, and then you got the Butch Graham thing, Butch jumped parties, and we're gonna have to do something about
Yeah,
that.
that'll all be solved if we go.
Yeah,
with
right,
eliminate
I'm just
the-
saying that might be a reason somebody's.
And
mind
it's
is-
on the
well,
agenda,
you know,
guys.
as far as Butch Graham goes, he was gonna be removed anyway. I mean, there's no doubt that since he jumped.
Right,
parties, you just
right,
said,
Right.
But I don't need a merit commission. And as far as the auxiliary goes, I mean, two people being on that, anybody could be on the auxiliary. I don't see a conflict there at all.
I do.
But they're not- they
Because
don't-
they're gonna be working with people, if they're gonna serve as a merit, they're gonna hire, fire, and discipline, and they could be standing right
It's
next
just
to the
that they
guy.
don't hire
Yeah.
and fire. It's the union does it.
All right.
Well,
Because of.
It's a moot point.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
It's an absolute moot point because he agrees that we should eliminate the merit commission. It's on the agenda, and we're gonna probably effectuate that decision
We'll
on
certainly
Wednesday.
certainly be voting on it.
Right,
Okay, we're gonna vote on it Wednesday?
yep.
It's on.
But I agree, you know, there's no need in it, you know. The only one person that maybe could be affected would be the secretary, you know, who's been under the merit system. She's not under the union contract, but
And I'd say anybody get rid of her, would be nuts.
I realize that. But I mean, that was why she was put on there, or not her specifically, the secretary was put on there back in 1971, was because every time there was a change in administration, all the deputies were replaced and the secretary was replaced. Every 4 years there was a change, because back at that time, the sheriff could not succeed himself. And there was always a new administration every 4 years in the sheriff's office and the treasurer's office, and there's a turnover in both offices every 4 years. So, but we wanted to hear, you know, what your thoughts, because I know what you've said in the past, and I agree with you. Yeah, so, okay, good enough.
About the airport. Oh, that's, yeah,
That's-
I'm sorry. Mike?
911?
Yeah, what, 911 do you?
You have a meeting tonight, don't you?
Yeah, there's one at 4:30. I don't have anything to add, because I
Okay,
don't have anything to add.
we'll hit you up for that on.
But I do want to hear about the meeting that took place,
Yeah. Jeff's gonna address.
whenever.
I am, okay.
Mike?
Yeah, that's fine.
I've got a couple things, I want to discuss. I want, and I've told a couple of you guys this, maybe 3 or 4 of you guys this. When we're discussing and we're heading towards into our budget, I don't know what the process is, but if there's some way that we can resolution ourselves to where we cannot squirm out of paying $200,000 a year. I'm just throwing that figure out for debt reduction. Not, maybe we can put 40 towards, oh, we had to take that 40 and pay this off. In other words, make us liable, like right off the top, we write a check to debt reduction. And it goes toward that, so where we have to do that. I don't know any business that can keep surviving borrowing. And I'm not telling, I don't think there's anybody here that's against it, that doesn't agree with me, that we've got to do something to get ourselves back, because we're in the red. And we can't keep hoping that we'll have 100,000 left over that we can put back into the fund to.
I think what you're saying is you want us to levy more.
No. Here's what I'm
Well,
saying. No. Here's
If you
what I'm
put
saying.
in your budget a dollar amount, you'd have to
We just, no, we don't have to levy more. We've got to cut some.
cut more, sure.
And nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. Well, I disagree with that. I mean, I'm sympathetic to what you're saying. What we run into is we're talking Fund 100. That's where the deficit of $575,000 is. We assigned, for example, this year $96,000 in debt reduction. Whether we'll meet that is anybody's question. But we don't
Can we
have-
force ourselves to do that, Jeff? That's my question.
Well-
Can we make it to where we can't do this, we can't do that, we have to lay off 10 people, but by God, we're gonna make sure that's reduced.
That's political will.
Yes.
I mean, that is something that we just have to, I mean, that's a management style, it's a management philosophy, it's something that we all commit to.
But we're
there's
never
no
gonna-
way to put it separate.
We can't, so that we can't create a fund, a block in Fund 100 that says debt reduction, that's what we pay it.
But I think we're doing part of that, Mike, and we're doing a certain amount, because you may not call it actual debt reduction on that, but we're paying into our retirement systems now, X numbers of dollars a
But
month.
that's separate.
That, I know, but we're
Right.
paying that.
Right.
I mean, if you don't pay it, then aren't we have to pay that sooner or later? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
right.
wait, so we're setting out a certain amount. Because I agree with you, because mine comes in the idea, I want us to start setting aside, I don't care what it is, and I think we have a spot to pay this. I think this sometimes can be kind of ambiguous, like where you're going to. If you have a certain things that you already owe debt to, or that you know you already owe debt to, I think that's much easier to pay. Where's our debt, as I often say, for this courthouse? Is that gonna come out of this same amount? I mean, it has, yeah, no, so where does it, where are we gonna have to start saying?
That's
that?
another issue
See?
that we're working on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so if we can find things that we know we already have debts to, in my mind, I would rather, if we have a way, to pay down those debts more so than saying, we're gonna set aside 200,000, because I think what Jeff has done when he's built this budget, and last year when we all looked over it, I thought it was like 75 to 80,000, I think you said 96, but I was thinking it was in that range of hopefully about 75,000 that we were actually gonna try to reduce.
95, I'm sorry.
Was it 95? Okay, I didn't think it was that high, but I thought it was 75, and I was tickled about that we're actually gonna try to reduce our budget by $75,000.
What did you do, Alan, at the school when you were faced with this problem?
He asked the state for more money. No, I mean specifically. But I mean, a part of that is you do that, or a part of that is you go back and you ask your taxpayers for more money on a referendum.
The other issue that.
You want us to use the school as an example?
No. I want to use,
All right.
his, I'm not, nothing against Jeff, I just want to use another
Oh,
guy
I didn't take it that
that's in
way.
that's in charge of budgets and say, how can we do this? Because here's what nobody wants to do, here's the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to go to any of these office holders and say, you're not getting as much as you got
We
last
have
year.
done that.
We have done
Yeah.
that. We've cut 6 bodies. We're gonna cut 2 more this year, this coming year.
We've cut 10% one year, and
Then how do we guarantee that that money goes to debt reduction and we don't have, one little thing we just gotta go pay?
It's very simple. We say we're gonna take in 3.5 million, okay?
Mhm.
And we're only gonna spend 3.45. There's 95 grand. Okay?
Okay,
That's what we budget,
okay.
okay? Now we
Did
go
we do
over.
that last year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're on target to do it. We may do a little bit more. The other thing we faced the last 2 years, this year and the year before, is that we paid out a hell of a lot of money out of the general fund for settlements, whether they were court ordered or non-court ordered.
I
And
realize.
we've still been able to absorb them. Like the previous year, we were still able to reduce almost $50,000 in debt, even though we took a solar plexus hit of about 90 grand into the fund.
so if we didn't have them items that you're saying, we could possibly reduce it 150, 200,000.
Okay, well then that leads me into number 2. I understand, a little birdie told me, the sheriff's gonna present us with a $50,000 overage this year.
Well, I told the board last year, or last meeting, Carl, you remember, that we're gonna go over about 50 grand in the sheriff's budget.
We're not gonna go over 50 grand in the sheriff's. I mean, okay, how can we allow that to happen? How can we allow him to go 50,000 over his budget? Because he wants to put more overtime? He wants to put 4 people on the road? I'm never gonna be in the department where I think we have the right to manage his department. We don't. But when he comes to us and say, I gotta have more money because I feel like this, where do we stop? Say, okay,
Okay. I submit to you, and maybe you're more knowledgeable to speak to this, but when we have people resign, we have people that we have to cover. The union contracts tell us that who we have to ask first, and that's a different issue. I know we should negotiate that different. We've got an extra body count, okay, in the sheriff's department.
why do we have that? And why can't we say, you've got X amount of dollars to deal with? And he's saying because the community's not gonna have any service, they're not gonna be unprotected. Well,
Just so you'll know, the sheriff came to me and said, and of course I already knew this, but there was a time, he came to me and said, look, you need to know where we're at here. And then I came to the board about 3 days later and explained to them what the situation was. So he wasn't trying to.
No, I know.
He was communicating and said, because of those issues, this is where we're at.
But he said these issues, that some of them he can change and some of them he can't change.
And he committed to reduce expenditures where he could, but he's pretty well committed on, I mean, if a jailer doesn't show up or quits, you gotta have somebody there. And the union contract says that you have to offer it to the other folks, so it becomes overtime.
I realize that. But when you're going in your overtime budget at 50,000, and you're already over that,
Well, remember, we cut his budget in half.
162.
Well,
We
but
cut
we
his
cut
budget.
that overtime budget in half.
There's,
Yeah, that was part of the 162.
okay, how do you justify having all these people out here working on the road at night and during the afternoon?
Again, I don't manage the sheriff's
I
department.
know, and that's why I'm
Neither do you.
saying, where do we draw the line over where we get our nose involved in the management before we just blindly say, oh, here's the money? I mean, I think we have an obligation to understand what's going on here.
That's fine. I mean, as a total 7-man board, what does everybody want to do? It's just not one of us.
Right here's an example. He knows. I have some knowledge of how it operates, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out here driving around, burning up gasoline, driving expensive SUVs around, strictly for political reasons. It looks good. And you have to weigh that against
Well, the way to do it is to go into a protracted legal battle with the sheriff, if that's what you want to do.
No, I don't know that I want to do that. Am I obligated to do that because of what we are as a board that controls the money?
Nobody jumped up at the last meeting, maybe they were thinking, and nobody jumped up and said, we gotta do something, started a hand wringing.
Well, because I wasn't there, or I would have, you know? I jumped up at a meeting a year ago and said that about the 350,000 that we're over. And that's, yeah, it is, it's
What's
gonna,
350?
before it's over with, the decisions he's made on the Hopper Bergen thing are gonna cost us $350,000. And
Well, I think we need to stick with the actual facts on paper. What you're doing is the same thing that the sheriff's doing. It's a political deal.
no, I'm not doing it for political reasons. I'm doing it
Okay.
for, I can say that.
You can say that.
Would it be best for the taxpayers if I just Mike Elsey sat and shut up? Maybe so. I don't think so. But it-
Regardless of the fact, and I was gonna give the report, we can still save the money and deal with all the budget overfalls and shortfalls.
Anything else?
Well, no, wait a minute. I gotta analyze what he just said. I'm not sure.
Can we save the 95,000 that we projected? Probably. With or without the 40,000 or 50,000.
I'm talking about this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So he comes to you and says it's gonna cost you an extra 50 this year. I'm gonna
Came
be
to
over.
me to tell the board,
Okay.
not to me.
Okay, and so we are not, I'm not supposed to be upset about that.
I don't,
I'm not
I'm not
supposed to
telling you what, I'm just,
I'm not supposed to look into this. Did Karen Halloran ever say that? No. Did Donnie come and say that?
yes,
No.
Karen did, okay, and we dealt with it, okay?
Okay. Did she go over?
Yes.
How much?
I don't remember, 20, 30 grand. But she was able to make that up in other ways.
Well,
I think it's a good discussion. I mean, because
Yeah.
anytime we're going over, that's what we
I'm
talk
fine
about.
with it.
I wouldn't,
I
I
don't take it
agree,
personal.
I agree with you bringing it up totally, Mike. I guess I'm not quite as concerned as probably you are about that, if it's justifiable, because I think all things in budgets, those are guidelines. And
I realize that.
and so sometimes it just happens. Augie, I'll pick on him back there for a little bit. He hadn't been picked on here today. I'm sure when it's an election year, I mean, he's tried to perfect that down to how much it costs, but usually on election year, it goes up. I mean, just because.
He can't, he has no
I mean,
control over it.
certain things, like if you're talking about contractual issues, which I think got us in trouble because we didn't pay attention to contractual issues maybe, but now, that's a part of it.
And I
That's not a
realize
bad
that
thing.
sheriff's
I don't
budget,
think
there's
it's a bad
things,
thing at all.
there's issues that he has no control over, natural disasters.
Yeah.
An airplane crashes or something, a 747 hits the courthouse. We can't control that. Our insurance isn't even gonna pay for that, so we're gonna have overtime, that's just nothing we can control. But I wanna make sure that this $50,000 hit he's given us is not something that we can't control or something we can't.
And it'd be more or less. I'm just, all we can do is project at this point. I'm not guaranteeing anything here.
Well, if you look at it, at the sheet you just gave us, all the over 100 percenters there are on there. Some of them are nothing, and some of them are pretty substantial.
Well, you should be looking at about 72% on everybody right now. Because you gotta add in one more payroll. And the sheriff with payroll is gonna be about 80%, okay? And that put his budget at roughly 980,000. And, which is less than what he had the first year, and Kripke spent 1.147 his last year in office. Okay?
Well, I would have fought that had I been there.
I'm just.
This guy's got one more guy than Crippus had too, in case you didn't know that.
Well, he's really managing good.
Yeah. How's he doing that thing?
Well, he got $150,000 less money.
He walked into office and we cut almost $100,000 out of his budget, or 90-some thousand.
Anything else?
I guess not.
Anybody else want to comment on the sheriff's budget?
Well, I think we need to be concerned because, you know, we can't have Augie come and say, well, I'm 50,000 over. Donnie Wiseman, I'm 20,000 over. You know, they're living within their budgets, and I realize there's things that come up for the sheriff, but I just still think, you know, I remember the first year when he was just, things were going way over budget. I tried to make issue of it, and nothing ever happened on it. And the last 2 years, I'll give him credit. You know, I think he's been within budget.
Yes, the last 2 years.
Last 2 years, and I realize us cutting 160,000, I mean, that would be tough to live within.
And I was surprised he's been able, if you put that back in, he's still, 110,000 what he was under the year before.
Because I remember one year.
Not saying that's acceptable.
When I was sheriff, we were cut 10%, and back then my budget was around 900,000. I lost 90,000, but I eliminated a position. You know, that took care of part of it, but I think I might have been over that year. Well, that's just tough to do, that big of a cut. But if you're given that cut, you have to do whatever it takes to get within what you're dealt with.
What I guess my question is, since I'm new on the board and I don't quite understand, is where do we as a board fit in? Where do you guys think we have the right to say, what if his budget right now was, I'm just gonna throw this figure out, 5 million, and he had 10 cars out here on the road every shift? That's probably excessive, because he's getting by just fine now. Where do we say, hey, this shouldn't have got this far anyway, maybe he can do it with 2 deputies in 1 car? I know that's an exaggeration, but.
That's where we get frustrated, and Carl can tell you, because we've talked to the state's attorney about this, and it gets very ambiguous about what we can do and what we can't do. And we've got lawsuits in other counties, maybe not particularly with that office, where the judge is going, you know what, you needed the money, you spent it, pay it. So.
And if the money's there, we gotta pay.
Well, he's even ordered where the money is, where they didn't have the money. It's a very frustrating. I think we all realize the longer we're on the board, the less we can do. Don't we, Carl? I mean, we've realized and debated that issue.
Right.
We think we can do this and we think we can do that. We're constantly finding out we can't do that.
But yet, we're still catching some flack over the Hopper-Bergen deal. I mean, it looks like it was our fault that the money, we spent all that money. At the end of the year, we don't have it. And how do we add that back? I mean, that was a decision that he made, not us, and that cost extra money.
You're not wrong.
To me, that's just, he just went out and spent money that was out of his budget, or forced us to do it. And now he's another 50,000 projected. Maybe there's nothing we can do about it, but if we can, I don't want you to sit here dumb and not say anything.
What he has said, just to reiterate, is that said that he was committed not to spend any more than he absolutely had to in other areas, and if he could not spend it this year, he wouldn't. But payroll was the issue.
Then he can lay off some of his road people and be within budget.
Does the board want to offer that suggestion to him as a formal deal?
I don't know that much about his department.
Who's on the sheriff's committee? I mean, maybe that's an issue that you should bring up with them or talk with them, or.
Bernard, Carl, and I.
I mean.
And he's willing to meet with us. He said, you want to get together, talk about it? That's fine.
What was that, Dale?
So go ahead and meet with him.
That may not be an issue of the sheriff's committee, which I would respect. I mean, maybe bring it up that, hey, Mike says this, but that's something I think for the sheriff's committee to look at themselves too, because I mean, I think if they're looking also, you know, if you cut somebody $160,000, they may be very justifiably because of the prior incident. And then, like you said, more I sit and listen like him and say, well, sometimes that just doesn't happen. Yeah, but okay, you still try to cut it. In the reality, sometimes you can't. And he still would be, what'd you say, 110, over $100,000 less than what he spent last year, even if he comes in at 50 over.
But I
Right.
hasten to say, I'd be happier if you had somebody came in the
Yeah.
budget, and if we had the extra 40 grand that it doesn't hurt us, we could pay down 135,000.
Right. And
I mean,
I understand
I'm-
that totally, but I'm just saying,
I'm
we're,
realizing-
we're talking a lot with the sheriff, about the sheriff, and he's not here to even
And the,
say anything.
and the sheriff's committee needs to meet and they can report back to us. How's that?
That's
Meet with him
okay.
and give our areas of concern.
Well, he walked out before I got a chance to.
Well, I don't think this time.
But he knows, I mean,
But bottom line, to make a significant reduction in the amount is personnel.
and he's only got 3 months to do it, which, you know, if this was the beginning of the year and he says, I'm gonna be over, we could lay off one person. But in order to get anything significant in 3 months, you're gonna have to lay off 3 or 4 people. And you know,
I
that's not
think I
gonna
told
happen.
him that back before when he reneged on, when he said, we're gonna keep this thing going. And we could have maybe put $100,000 less into the mess, but he kept full steaming ahead.
You're talking about the litigation.
Yes. And I'm just, you guys know I started hollering about this a year ago. And it took a while, but eventually everybody bought into it and decided we gotta put a stop to it. And I'm saying it early now, I guess we got 3 months left to go on this budget, but, I mean, somewhere down the road, maybe even under the Hood administration, they decide you gotta have so many deputies, you gotta have so much patrol, you gotta have blah, 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 blah. And it was never a thing of the call substantiating it, it was how much money can I get out of the county taxpayers to drive around out here and impress the public with what I'm actually doing so I can get reelected, that's all it's ever been about. And, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. And
You did that?
Yes, I saw him. Once.
Well, you know that, that's exactly what goes on, is you gotta have marked cars, you gotta have people need to think they're getting an effective, but honestly, guys, if you go out and drive around at 2 o'clock in the morning, 200 miles on a shift in the country, in the middle of the night, how is that effective law enforcement?
I think we're off on a whole different issue.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
So,
you guys didn't mind that when you was on the sheriff's department, right?
Well, yeah, we did, and I said it was stupid, and the reason we had to do it was because it was politically advantageous, you know? But you can do, this department is, and this county is not so big that it needs a canine unit, an air helicopter unit, a SWAT unit. I mean,
I don't think we have them.
well,
Any of the three.
when's it gonna happen though?
Well, we've eliminated the canine.
I know. There again, I'm
well,
trying.
Which was pretty expensive too.
we will go to him and see what we can work out.
Okay.
I promise you.
I don't want, if we actually absolutely, for the taxpayers' good, have to spend $100,000 extra this year, then we need to scrape it up. I just
Okay.
wanna make sure it's justifiable expense.
Thanks for the discussion.
Okay.
Dale?
Thank you. HEDCO is still discussing the enterprise zone. There's nothing set in concrete. Ben showed me a letter he got from the mayor this morning. Still could include the airport, but according to the letter, the way we read it, it would stop at the intersection of Route 1 and Route 36. Oh, that's the first I've seen that. I haven't been home for a week, so I haven't got my mail. I may have a copy of that. Anyway, to get the grant for the enterprise zone, it takes money to apply for it. Freddie Bessemetti has gotten a commitment of $2,500 from, I think, all the banks in Paris. The city's gonna kick in anywhere from 11 to 14,000, I believe. So So they're asking us for a donation of $2,500 toward this, so I said I would bring it to the board. Let you think about it anyway. Health Department, Jerica is gonna take her test September 3rd at Lakeland for the
Oh,
certification.
good. No, my guy never got back to me on the roof, so I'm leaning to you to fix it.
I'm working on it.
He's a painter, he's a painter,
I'm
not
a
a
painter,
roofer.
not a roofer.
Well, you can paint that white stuff on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Got a point, Jeff. He can paint tar.
I've done a lot of legwork, but somebody seems, they don't seem to be getting very far, so.
Paris is committed, according to the letter, to 25% of the professional service fee is $40,000. And according to the letter, City of Paris is committed to 25%. And they're asking for $2,500 from the county.
For what?
To help pay the $40,000 fee for an enterprise zone, to bring, what's the enterprise zone? I think
what is, I don't have any idea what that is.
when you get an enterprise, I don't really know. What I understand of it is when you get enterprise zone, an area that you're claiming is,
Productive for the citizens of
well,
Paris?
no, that because of the poor people, you can get an enterprise zone and then you can get money from the state to put any type of sewer lines, water lines, be able to put a factory or business of any type in there. They get the money, and then I think, kind of like Pedco does down there, I think that is enterprise zone, I believe, where them,
You mean like a tip?
It's, yeah, it's similar to a TIF.
Yeah, similar.
The TIF is usually in the city limits, and the enterprise zone can go out into the county.
Into the county. You said to Route 1 and 36.
they have suggested in this letter that they definitely want the airport in it.
We talked about this for 6 months.
It makes us eligible for grants for infrastructure, promoting
Yeah.
the development of business and industry within that zone.
Whatever that area is. And it's my understanding, and by, just from this letter, that they can't take in the city of Christland. They can only take in unincorporated areas, with the exception of Paris. Since they're doing it, they probably, I don't know whether they'll be in or not, but that's the way this letter reads. They can only take in unincorporated areas, which,
When I first heard about it, I told you guys before, we were discussing the airport, and I said, what about going north and including the airport? Well, we never thought of that, but, we might do that. So, again, it's not set in concrete, there's no.
And so this is it's a Pedco/city deal? Or is it mostly Pedco?
Well, it's both, but they want to include the county, and they can include the county, and that's why I threw in, have you thought about the airport? Well, I hadn't thought about the airport.
I'll get everybody a copy of this letter.
Okay.
Okay.
City's considering submission of an application to the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for designation as an Illinois enterprise zone, that area.
Yeah, but they're running out of time.
And somebody's thought that, yes, they have a good chance of being able to do that.
Okay.
But as with any type of grant or money or thing, you have to put money up to start with.
Well, I think it's kind of like, somebody says, it'd be a good thing if Paris had an industrial park.
Mhm.
So let's designate 10 acres, make that an industrial park, put a gravel parking lot out there, put an entrance off the highway, then maybe people come and put small factories in out there. But you gotta have you gotta have the infrastructure to begin with, and that's what you're talking about.
That's what,
That's what Pecos does, the
Right.
factory south of town.
I'm all for that.
It just takes money to get money.
So,
That's the best thing.
was that on the agenda? It wasn't, was it?
Not
So we
that I
won't-
saw.
So we won't be able to do anything but mention it at the meeting as far as acting on it, since,
Right.
but I think they need to move on fast,
Yes.
and we have to decide whether we want to participate as a county.
Well, I didn't know if you want to make a contingent on the airport being part of the.
I need to go over the budget one more time.
Okay.
Okay.
Food for thought, just think about it.
Before you get off that, what was the bottom line dollar cost on it?
40,000 was there. What's the
Okay.
cost? Ours was 2,500.
Okay.
That's just what they asked for,
Okay.
2,500, which is probably, like you said, what they asked everybody.
Yeah. They would take more.
Anything else? Tim?
We interviewed 5 candidates for Andrew's assistant, and we did our Linda Lee, and she's already started to work, so. And fourth, I know, did an excellent job. The 3 holding pens have been completed. These are quarantine pens. When you first bring in dogs, they are undercover. They also have a heating source and so forth. I looked at them, and they really look good. Conduit has been installed for the new security system, but as yet, the cameras have not been put up, so I've talked to Ross 2 or 3 times, and maybe when he's not so busy, he'll get it done. The dog-on-dog problem, where the dog killed the dog, has been resolved. The lady was fined for having a vicious dog and dog not having rabies shots. Also, the owner gave the dogs to the shelter. Andrew said one was pregnant, so that dog has been adopted out, so the babies are going to be taken care of. The other dog problem started, I'm not going to go through the timeline. I have
Oh, yeah.
3.5 pages written down from the time it started until the present. I don't think you want to hear the timeline. If you do, I'll go through it, but it's kind of lengthy. It has not been resolved yet, according to the dog's owner. According to Andrea and I, it has been resolved. Andrea went through the proper procedure. The dog was picked up. The dog had no tags, no identification. The dog was taken to the pound. The next day, one of Andrew's volunteers recognized the dog as being belonging to this particular owner. He called the owner. The owner came to the center or the shelter that morning and ripped Andrew about a half hour, screaming, yelling, using the F word, this and that. Another friend of Andrew called me and told me about it, so I went out on Monday morning, talked to Andrew. And Tuesday morning, I was buying groceries at Kroger's, and the lady stopped me outside the front door. I said, "Hi, you know, how you doing?" And she said, "What are you doing about the problem at the pound or shelter?" I said, "Well, I thought it's been taken care of." And she proceeded for about 15 minutes to rip me up one side, down the other. The passing thing, when I finished and said, "I don't want to talk to you anymore," when she said, "I thought you was a fair man, now no, you're not, you're a liar and a cheat." So I said, "Well, I no longer want to talk to you," so that's where it stands right now. But we have a meeting at 12 today, so I invited her to come to the meeting. She said she was busy and couldn't make it. So I have a feeling that probably the husband might be there, so we'll handle that when it comes. If you want to know the timeline, that's basically it.
Well, I saw Doc in Arthur the day before yesterday.
Doc
Uh,
Davis.
He's, I'm gonna be there, Mike.
Okay, good.
So,
I didn't know, I should have just not argued with the lady. I should have just said, I don't want to talk about it right now, but I was trying to kind of soothe it over and it didn't work. So next time I know to keep my mouth shut, which I have trouble doing sometimes. But I told Mr. Zuber, Alan, I did hold my cool. I did not scream or yell or say bad words to her. So.
because he can't, you know how he gets.
So we'll see what happens today then. But in Andrew's defense, she handled it the way it should be handled. So.
You're gonna be there, aren't you, Mr. Zuber?
No, just.
There may be a lawsuit because the dog's tail was injured in the shelter.
What kind of a dog was it?
I don't know.
You don't know what kind of dog? Okay. Did he even have a tail?
Was a person fined for not having rabies tag?
Andrea actually was nice to her. She didn't, no, she
And
had,
that's what happens
she
when
had
you're
the
nice.
shots, she had the shots, but she didn't have any identification on it.
Right, shit shots.
And it's happened before, so, a few more other times before that. It just, it's,
You have a history there Dan.
Well, I know.
That should,
I
that
actually-
should back up anything that you decide to do.
I actually went online and printed off some stuff from 2011, in which this owner got in trouble too, but it's an ongoing thing. I think the problem was we did not hire the lady from Chrisman that she wanted hired. So it's conflict of personality, so
Mhm.
that's where we stand.
You're talking about for assistant.
Mhm, yeah. And she's been bad mouthing this too, so the lady didn't get the job.
Sometimes you just gotta sit and take it.
And
I took it pretty good, I think, for me. I
we're
normally
proud
don't
of
take a
you.
lot of stuff. Yeah,
Take one for the team.
I took one for the team.
Anything else?
Actually, 2 or 3. No, that's it.
Don't say hi next time. That's my takeaway.
I learned not to.
And then you went online.
Shop at Walmart, Dan.
I wanted to get my don- I had to get my donuts.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, and then I'll let you know. It was handled correctly.
Okay, the budget, you've got a copy of the budget in front of you. We've got 75% of the year, once we pay the last payroll, we've got about 7.7% of the budget left, projected. So if you project that out, that gives you an idea about where we're at. So that's a significant amount of money on 3.5 million.
Do we have any other offices besides the one we've already talked about that's in?
Yes, but they're all justified.
That's all you
Oh,
want to know.
that's fine with me. Go on there.
I'm just teasing.
Okay.
We do have a courts,
It's gonna be on the
Augie,
paper.
quite frankly, Augie has talked to me, he's had some, computer and update stuff that's come up, you know, we gotta do it. The county board is right at the door, we might just be a hair over, so, but I think we're more active this year than we've been in previous years.
Just everybody don't turn in your meetings from now
Yep,
on.
just stop turning in your meetings for a
Forget it.
time or two.
I want my $25. I don't.
Yeah. Do it like me,
What?
maximum amount.
Yeah,
Wait a
that's
minute.
what I
No,
do
wait a
too.
minute.
That's-
Maybe some of us don't take other parts.
At any rate, obviously, we have some
You
issues.
wanna go with that?
I will put the pen to the paper here and double check myself. So we should have some left at the end of the year.
Too much humidity.
Now, whether it's gonna be 95 or 110 or 75, I can't tell you. Additionally, to go along with the budget, if you'll look on page 3 of the budget, you'll notice about halfway down the page, miscellaneous.
Yes, I see that.
We got a check from the old, the system that, what's the, mass transit. We did get a mass transit check. And they ran it through us like the state's attorney asked them to. The original check was 200 and some thousand, so what they did, based upon ridership, they sent X amount to Coles, no, is that right? Clark, and X amount to us. And at this point, we have deposited the money and are not gonna issue a check till I talk to the state's attorney. Since that time, I've gotten a call from the state of Illinois Department of Transportation, head of investigations, that wants to speak to the state's attorney about whether, even though we did pass a resolution, whether that was correct or not. And that's above my pay grade and probably ours, but he wants a chance to meet with the state's attorney and go over how that disposition of the money. Quite frankly, he believes at this point that that money shouldn't go anywhere. And that's his deal, and the state's attorney has taken the stance that it should. I will tell you that the state's attorney uses the idea, and he's gonna talk to the state's attorney about this, that because it was mostly grant money, it shouldn't go to us. Well, the fact of the matter is, of the 200 and some $1,000, of course, they've audited because of other situations down there, less than $13,000 of it is grant money that's going to either county. The rest of it is represented by by fares and fees and everything else.
But
No.
not tax money.
No. So, at any rate, that is going to those two, and then I'm assuming that based upon their discussion, we'll get some relief one way or the other on
So
it.
either be issuing a check or we'll have $150,000.
So you're saying of that money, only 13,000 was grant money?
Yes.
That's according to this gentleman.
Big auditor.
Right. Yeah, he's a CPA and something else, but at any rate, so I'm trying to get those two together. And when that happens, then we'll do whatever, or we'll bring it to the board and then we'll make a decision on what we're gonna do.
What's King's position on this?
I have no idea, I haven't talked to
He's
him.
not jumping up and down?
Well, I don't know whether he even knows about it. I didn't call King up and tell him any of this. I
Okay.
mean, my first thing is to the state's attorney, and before that, you guys. So that's the way I view it, and eventually he may call up and ask Don where the check is, and Don knows what's going on, and we'll go from there. They are also working with the county, Clark County also, and talking to their board about how they're gonna handle it.
Just so I know, what'd they do, reissue that check?
Yeah, see, they issued it to rides.
Right.
And by law, they had to issue it to each county and separate it out, which the state's attorney wrote them a letter and said, you need to do this, 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 and here's your check back. And Augie sent the letter to them, and
You sent the check back, the rides check back?
the original one, yes.
The original.
Okay.
But this 150,000 is in our general fund right now.
It was not to rides, it was just to
It
educate.
was
Right,
made
right, I
out.
understand it, because we couldn't deposit a check to rides in our account, so.
Right.
Well, they was basically telling us, they handed us the check to hand to rides, and why they ever did that.
That's the question I
Well, they
asked.
probably did it because it was supposed to go to Edgar County. And you said something about the vehicles too, that you mentioned.
Yes, and the vehicles is another issue, once they resolve this. I guess we have a leased vehicle, 2 leased vehicles, which I guess they are paying for, but we may have equity in, I don't know.
We turned them over to them. We
Right.
gave them to them.
And they're gonna deal with that issue also.
Remember, the sheriff wanted one of those for,
Right.
Yes.
So we
And
could put
we-
more deputies out.
No, and we said they wasn't ours, and it turns out that they was ours.
SWAT wagon.
Or it sounds like.
Okay, airport, you guys know what's, we've got on the agenda, to appoint the airport manager, which would
You're making
be
a recommendation to appoint.
Jerry Griffin,
Okay.
and he has been on the job for a couple weeks just as a trainee, and Dale has been helping him.
And you're going to leave that as a part-time
That's
at
correct.
this point?
$14,000 a year at this point.
Okay.
Okay? That's, he's fine with that. He's got 2 other pensions, and Dale and Carl and I met with them, and that's what we came up with. We also have a recommendation for the advisory board, and there's 4 recommendations to be acted on at the meeting. You wanna read those? Let's see. For a 1-year term would be Dale Barkley and Joe Shiner. Jerry Kessler would be a 2-year term, and Jake Barrett would be a 3-year term. Okay?
Assuming that it's approved, or they're approved.
Assuming that it'll be approved. So we're gonna start the staggered terms right away, so that we're constantly, and if we need to, and we're committed that if we've got other interested people, I'll get off, Carl, whoever, Dale, and we'll make room for more folks. And that's, but we gotta walk before we can run.
I've been approached, and I don't want to talk to you with my back turned to you.
I don't care.
You trust you. I don't trust you. Donna is not, can somebody walk me through that so that you know how she's no longer on the advisory committee?
Right.
He can tell me. If you got that, where that is.
Here.
It is,
You can give that to Augie, and he can run you through it if you can.
I don't need that.
Okay.
Okay.
It is based upon its interpretation.
Okay.
What the video reveals that Chris appointed Adana to fill a vacancy. That's all he said. And it was understood that the vacancy was his, which was created when he resigned his position when he came on the board.
Okay.
So that being said, there was 1 year, no, there was a month, 1 month to go.
That was
She
in
was
March of.
March of 2013.
2013, and there was 1 month left on Chris's
It
term.
expired in April of 2013. So
Long
that
as the
is
rest
the
of
understanding. That's our understanding.
Okay.
That's our story and we're sticking to it.
Okay, I just need to know what to be able to tell him.
Yeah.
And you looked at
sent
the
that to
video,
him.
you know, you looked at the minutes,
No,
Oh, we haven't? I'm sorry.
you looked at the minutes, the video, he went back and looked at the video to
Yes.
see what actually was
Now,
said.
there, I do have a letter that has been emailed to Ben,
I've got a copy of the letter.
and it's a draft that we are going to, once you all are on board with that letter, we're gonna send that to Adana and explain that to her and thank her for her service. And I know it's just been a busy time, and
Oh, no, I didn't mean to.
There's the letter. So there's a draft of the letter.
it's a draft of the letter, yes.
Okay, but
And-
this information is incorrect, it says 4/14, it's 4/13, when they expired. Remember,
Okay.
remember what I told you?
It's one-
3-year terms, not 4-year terms.
Yes.
You know, if you're gonna send this, I don't
No,
know. if you're
I'm
gonna
not
send
sending
it.
this,
Okay.
that's an
But that should
internal.
be corrected anyway in case we refer to it in the future.
Yeah.
And we all
Right.
don't remember what it meant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, she really was serving without, because she was on there for more than.
She just hadn't been reappointed, nothing had
Right.
been done.
May I say
You
something?
should, yeah,
And nobody's
And that-
been reappointed.
right, exactly.
Everybody's term
So
is
everybody's
expired.
term, and that was the argument, everybody's term was,
Expired in
Expired.
April of 2013.
yeah.
And then the question has come up, well, I thought they were staggered terms. Well, they have been, but based upon what I can find in the minutes, there has been a lack of communication between the airport and the county board, and I've put together what I believe is to be accurate.
Excuse me.
And those have, they just expired in 13,
Okay.
2013.
That's all I wanted was an explanation if you've done it.
Yeah.
Additionally, some work's been done at the airport. The leasee has not moved in it totally, but the door is completed. Electrical is done. They're arranging now for the splitting off of the gas. The room for our maintenance has been done. The electrical is on its way. So those things have been done. Additionally, the committee is gonna have to meet and go over the airport buffer areas so that we know where we're at on that. We've had more communication on that with the state, and they've given us clarification. So we need to take that and then apply that to farming and mowing. There's some thought that we need to come up with a new mowing program, so with the additional 50 acres, we do not want to be mowing 150 acres a year every 2 weeks. That maybe we can get into a rotation in some of the areas where we knock the woody plants down as opposed to
Why can't we
letting.
just grow hay or beans on it?
Well, and that's what we have to address. And the farmers tell us that there's additional acres that could be put in hay and some other crops that would not cause us issues, would reduce our need to mow, etc. So Dale and Carl and I are gonna have to get together on that fairly soon and start looking at that and how we're gonna.
Can I ask one, obviously, it's probably gonna, you're thinking it's the dumbest question. As long as we don't grow corn on it, is everything gonna be fine?
No. And what I didn't realize, and I haven't had a chance to share with Carl and Dale, is that the state would just as soon that we consider wildlife draw as much as line of sight. In other words, if you put a wheat field right next to a runway, it's going to attract birds, geese, which in turn is an issue.
Okay.
Okay? Or if you're planting an alfalfa field, you're going to attract hypothetically deer. So these are things we need to consider as well as line of sight. And that's what we all need to get together and make a recommendation.
Did he ever get the new guidelines or new thing? Because when I talked to him last week,
Yeah, he's still confused about it. We need to get together on it. Those guidelines are not for agriculture. They're like for other things, including the width of the runway, has to do with taxiways and other uses of the airport. The agricultural is not part of the Class D airport that we are, okay? And so we need to evolve on that together, okay? We're considered a Class D airport, you know,
Are we gonna be having issues with the renters up there? Is that are we gonna handle, in other words, rebidding that rental?
Okay, what we have done at this point is we have notified them that the existing leases and agreements are terminated.
Okay.
And then we're gonna start all over again.
And our deadline to do that is September 1st? Or
Oh, we've already done it.
Okay.
We're clear with it. Now we
Okay.
need to work with the whoever and however we're gonna do it, okay?
We didn't have to vote on that, we just did it.
Yeah, they authorized, you guys authorized us to do that at the last regular meeting.
We use sleep.
You forgot.
Okay, lastly, 911.
Because they talk about
911, Troy Eads wanted to have a get-together with the sheriff, the chairman, and myself, which we met at my place. There was no secret meeting, there was no, you know, and the threshold for getting together was not reached. Okay, at any rate, what we wanted to talk about was the direction to go on 911 as far as the dispatchers and how best to serve the people, get the job done, and to be able to maintain it. They are going to talk at the meeting tonight about those issues and see where the rest of the board, obviously Troy is only one of 7 people that's currently on that board. There's a vacancy. But I think we all agreed, now whether this pans out, is that Nan should be in the office so that she can supervise on a daily basis the dispatchers / the 911 operators. And we'll see where that goes. Beyond that point, we're just gonna have to see what direction that board takes. Is that a fair? There was other things discussed, but in order for everything else to happen, that particular step has to be taken first. Okay? There was no agreements made. There was no understanding, we couldn't, because we don't have the horses there, and it wasn't a special or even a committee meeting. We talked about finances, we talked about insurance, we talked about all kinds of things. But the basic thing is, the basic operation of 911 has to have daily supervision. The sheriff agreed to that, we agreed, you know, I mean, as far as agree, I don't mean we had an agreement, but everybody was on the same page as far as that's concerned.
Do you think at this point there's gonna be a cooperation issue then?
We'll have to see after tonight. I hope so, we're hoping so, because we'd like to move, we all like to move together in a positive way. Sheriff, county board, 911 board. And there are benefits that can be negotiated if we'd all come out of the same chute together. If we're heading in a different direction, then we're gonna have to come up with plan B.
Okay, do you feel comfortable talking about any of the repercussions that you got when the employees were of 911 were told about the schlep. You've gotten some feedback from those people. Can we discuss that now, or is that something that needs to be?
I think we can, Augie might be better, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that other than questions that we've gotten and clarification, in other words, employees have asked, are we going to get refunds or credit? Okay?
Right.
Those, we have not got any feedback that said, this is BS, or this is this, or this is, or I'm gonna do that.
Because you and I discussed, didn't we, that'd be a problem if it was you or me, we just want them to credit that money.
Right. But it's only been a very technical questions at this point. There's been nothing that would lead you to believe, doesn't mean there isn't out there, but there's nothing to believe that we're gonna head in any other direction than just clarifying, make sure that we follow through with everything that we said that we were gonna do. And of course, that deadline's coming up a week after next.
Yes.
I think the attorney can get
22nd.
Because you can put
Jeff and I-
extra money in IMRF, if you so desire.
And not take any money out now. I mean, if I had, I'll give you an example, say 15, 20,000 in there, could I put that money in there and say, don't draw any more out of my pay till that's used up?
Well, I don't know if you can do it that way. You can put more extra money into your IMRF. I know, if you decide.
Why would you want to?
My
You're not gonna get any more.
My understanding of the mechanism that's gonna happen is with the next payroll, we're gonna revert to the way it should be, or it should have been. And then Augie's office is gonna contact IMRF, because we will have reached that point, and tell them what we've done, and then they will make the corrections.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if there's some special request by an employee, I'm sure that IMRF will consider it, but it'll be based upon the mechanics that they have. Okay? Does that,
Oh, absolutely. I just want to make sure it was getting addressed and that there wasn't any, nobody's up there screaming.
nobody's
lawsuit.
hammered either way on
Okay.
that at this point.
Okay. And that
All right.
includes Vicky.
That's correct. I've talked to Vicki several times.
Okay.
And there's been no issue. But we had not discussed that issue. But if there was an issue, I'm sure I would know.
Would have heard about it.
Or at least, well, maybe not, Carl, I don't know. At any rate, nothing has been, I have not.
I heard she was upset, but I'm sure she is, but
She was her same old self with me on other issues. She was she's a lady, I mean, she is, and I'm sure she would handle it in a very professional manner, whatever it was. And we're very lucky to have her.
Anything else?
I don't believe so, I've taken enough of your
Well, I
time.
hope, while we're on that, I hope this doesn't send the wrong message on this merit commission vote, because she's really one of the ones that affects, really. Because she has no protection. And now, if that merit commission goes out, since she's not in the union, she has no protection.
Well, nobody in any of the other offices. Augie's office, when he moved in, he didn't take a sigh and.
In Teresa's office, they don't have any protection.
Yeah, I mean, she's,
I guess technically, Augie could have fired everybody.
I could have fired me, but
Uh-huh.
I still can, but I chose not to.
Right.
you know, I guess the old days, that was just.
it was a
the way it
mindset
Way it
that no
was.
longer
Right,
shared.
but it's,
Well, it happened in the old days, and that
Yeah,
wasn't a
but,
good.
this is 40 years later, and I think people have progressed and
Okay.
see the value of having, long-term employees that, are assets to the.
Quite possibly you need a cause.
Well, and we
Right.
we're blessed with a raft of competent individuals, and I think everybody recognizes that. I'm done.
Did the county clerk have something for us?
Yes. I want to take a quick look down through the agenda.
Okay.
You have the obligation to appoint a vacancy in the circuit clerk's office.
Yes.
You have 60 days to do that, and the notices have gone out to the applicable party chairman. And I put in your packet a copy of the appointment that was made by the chief circuit judge. And so,
Now, have we determined that there's a vacancy yet?
Yes,
Yes.
that vacancy technically occurs as of the date of death.
Okay,
So we don't have to vote and say there's a vacancy?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a formality. I mean, the judge already has done that in his appointment of pro tempore of Sandy Willett, just to make sure that day-to-day affairs of that office can continue on. But now the board needs to make an appointment, in this case, until November the 4th. Because
December 1st.
November the 4th.
But they don't take off, but they take the office after.
Yeah, just,
Well,
Go ahead.
because there is more than 28 months, there has to be an election.
I know.
Right.
yeah, but they have to take, they don't take office in
Well,
November.
well, you're right, they don't take office until December 1st, but there will have to be an election to fill out the remainder of that unexpired term.
Have we heard anything from the party yet on
No,
this?
they're supposed to be having a meeting tonight.
Okay.
Tonight or
Randy
tomorrow?
Peterson said that,
It's either tonight or tomorrow,
Yes,
Ben.
right.
Okay.
and then he'll get a recommendation if they have one.
But we're sure now that we have to have the election.
Yes, you have to have an,
Okay.
and just to clarify, it's not a special election, it's we're adding another
And we don't,
office.
We're not spending a bunch more money that we don't have to.
and we don't appoint that person.
The county board
party
does not
appoints that
appoint
person.
it, the
We are
party
only person we're appointing
slates
is the
that
one-
candidate.
Yes,
For this fall,
yes.
but not
The one that is going to take over right now, we appoint.
correct.
The one, the run
Right.
on the ballot is appointed by the two parties, if they both choose to have somebody run.
So are you telling me that you're going, after the Republicans meet tonight or tomorrow night, and if they make a recommendation, you're gonna take that into consideration?
Exactly, that's it. We'll take it into consideration. And then I'll have a.
Well, do we know who they're gonna suggest?
Hmm?
Do we know who they're gonna suggest?
I could tell you that, we don't know who they're gonna suggest.
Right. We're gonna try to fill that though on Wednesday. Let's go to all the rest. We're gonna try to fill the
Yeah.
temporary position on Wednesday.
No, I will have a
Yeah,
recommendation.
on Wednesday, you're gonna have, he's gonna have a recommendation on Wednesday.
And
What's
so-
already spelled out, he's gonna have a recommendation
Well,
that's
that
what
says
it-
who.
right.
Yeah, yes, we'll have a
Be his
recommendation.
recommendation.
Okay. But we don't have to vote for his recommendation.
No, not at all. You wanna be that way?
We don't have to accept,
I'll tell you,
Ben doesn't have to
Dale,
accept
from
the
now
party's
on-
recommendation.
From now, I don't know what he ate before he came in. He's not getting any more of that.
That's what I ate. I ate that, and he wanted some of it, and he's not getting any of it. He's bad.
Okay, we need to.
Do you have anything else?
Look through your board packets.
Okay.
Well, she can start.
We have covered most everything that's on the agenda.
Bev Markey.
Bev
Yes.
Markey is on the agenda. Her
And I think There's a
resignation.
copy of her resignation in this
Yes,
packet.
it is.
Yeah.
And when is that effective?
January 2nd.
Then we have candidates to review. Who does that?
No, we will have though.
Is there a
First
committee
we have
for
to
that?
advertise.
Is there a committee for that?
Mm.
So it's a general
There
board?
is a, no, there is a committee.
Okay.
We'll have to suck it up and do it.
Could be the county office committee,
Yeah,
but that's.
they could make a recommendation, yes.
but
I
that's
don't
up-
see any sense in that unless,
Well, someone's gotta do it.
well, that's, okay.
Someone, I guess, gotta do the interview.
Yeah,
Well, unless there's only one person applies, and then
We still have to interview.
yeah, we
Yes.
still have to interview.
You'll also see, if I can move on,
Sure.
you'll also see on your agenda, there are two parcels that the tax agent wants to get rid of. They are very small. One is a vacant lot on South Central. The other one is a less than an acre that is landlocked down in Sanford. And there's an easement to get back to the property, but it's there have been a purchaser for each of those properties. Well, that's what that is. I didn't make copies of all that resolution and whatnot, but
That's through Myers.
That's through Joseph Meyer, our tax agent.
And number 18, transferring 15,000 from probation service fees, is that
That was
an annual
negotiated.
thing?
Should be 15.5.
Well,
It
right.
is.
It's 15.5.
That's been negotiated. Remember Monty and his crew back then, that's the exact amount that's in the budget. And there'll be more of those in the next month or so. Not from him, but I mean,
Other different.
other transfers.
Okay.
We gotta get things taken care of before year end.
You'll have the resolution to disband the merit commission, the whereas thing made out.
I have asked Mark to do that.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Little thank you card from Karen's family for your flowers.
How much?
I don't have the bill yet, but I'll let you know. But I asked for something that's gonna round out to be somewhere around $10 a piece.
Mr. Chairman, I move to go into closed session for performance review of an employee in pending litigation.
Second.
Or if you need those.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session for the items mentioned. All those in favor?
Wait a minute. I want to add something to that.
Oh,
Let Carl.
we've got several things going on here. We've got this we gotta do. We've got this special meeting that was called today. You've got the
Oh, we had a
animal.
special meeting yet too.
That's
Yeah,
right.
And you got your animal shelter meeting that day.
In 20 minutes.
I'm good
Okay,
to call.
just
Okay.
make everybody aware of everything we got going on still.
Go ahead, I retract.
You had a motion and a second.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Yeah.
You back in regular session now?
That would be.
No, we need to go out of it.
You need to go out
It has to.
We need to go out of it and then go
and then
into,
adjourn this meeting.
yeah, we need to,
You're right.
can we adjourn this
Bring it
meeting?
up Wednesday.
I'll talk to you about it.
Motion
You
to
know,
adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have
So
a
moved.
second?
Second.
Okay, we're gonna go into special county board meeting.
Now I'm gonna
Walk right